Good evening, everyone. Come in. We are ready to begin the state-required hearing on the proposed budget for the 2018-19 school year. It's Tuesday, May 8th, and I will turn the floor over to our superintendent and assistant superintendent to make the presentation.
Okay, so thank you very much. We will, there are handouts out there on the table for those of you who may want to. Doubtful you'll hear anything this evening that you didn't hear a month or so ago. We'll start off by outlining for everybody that there are two propositions on next Tuesday's budget vote. First one being the school budget, the second one being the proposition for Board of Education members. The school budget proposition is in front of you, authorizing the district to expend sums of money that will be required for school district purposes for the 2018-19 school year in the amount of $33,920,159 and to levy the necessary tax therefore. Proposition 2, to elect 2 members to the Board of Education, each for a 3-year term commencing July 1, 2018, expiring June 30th, 2021. There are 3 candidates for 2 positions in the order in which their names were picked out of a basket at our last meeting or 2 meetings ago. David LaValle, Mark Fleischauer, Diane Lyons. At this point, we'll move to the second page of the handout, and Tom, I'll turn that over to you to...
Everybody got the resource this time with the budget information. Actually, this next page I'm talking about actually got moved to page number 7. And this is called the School District Budget Notice. But if you have the handout that's on the table over there, it's the second page in. And what this document does, it compares last year to this year. It's in a state format that's required. So give you just some numbers to come up on this. Our budget is $33,920,159. It's just a little bit less than the $800,000 increase to the budget, which actually is 2.41%. This year's CPI is 2.13. We have to take the lesser of 2%, the CPI, or the lesser of the CPI or 2%. So we are at 2%. That's where you get the 2% cap, but there's other manipulations to that formula. I want to say manipulations, additions, subtractions, and things of that nature that go into that whole process. But when we do get down to it, it's this particular budget puts together an increase of 2.41%, but a 3.41%, was it 3.41? Try tax levy. And just so many numbers have been coming at me, it's hard to remember, 3.23%. Sorry about that increase, because that number's not on there. If we do not receive a 50% plus 1 vote successful passing of it, we are able to put up the budget one more time. If that budget does not pass, and that next budget can be higher, lower, the same, it doesn't matter. You can put it up a second time. But if it fails a second time, you're forced to go to the contingency budget, which is the last column on the right. It would be very disastrous. What would happen is our tax levy would remain the same. So in other words, we would basically have to stay at this year's budget just about. And it would actually reduce the budget by 0.31%. So very important to have people come out to vote and hear from them. So across the bottom, in the middle section, we do break it down into 3 parts: administrative, program, and capital. We'll talk about more of that in a second. But if we were to have an unsuccessful budget vote, in the middle there, the contingent budget is a reduction of over $901,000. So we would have to come back here and reduce our current budget by $901,000. So that's a huge number. And just as some basic information at the bottom of that page, for the STAR exemption savings, they've already figured it out for us, and it's $632. For those who recently bought their house and don't have STAR on their house, whether they live in this community or another community, there's a new process that you have to submit your paperwork to New York State to get your refund. So anybody who buys a new house right now, or buys a house, let's not say new, it doesn't have to be new. If you buy a house, you now physically have to go in every year. It does not get taken off your tax bill anymore. You will pay the full amount, and then you need to then submit for a refund. So they're making it harder for you to get that money. So just remember, if you're buying a new house, you now have to do paperwork every year to get that refund. And it does not come off your tax bill. You get a separate check back to you.
Wow.
So that makes it a lot more difficult for our constituents across New York State. If we go to the next page, which and here in the budget booklet is on page 4. If you have that in front of you, it's the same exact document. And this shows you by what we call our, what do they call it? Function? Like Board of Ed or district meeting, what's that called?
Yeah.
Functions. But they're broken down into various sections here. And I just really want to point out a few things here because overall at the bottom you see the 2.41%. But if you go down the amounts of increase and decreases, there's just 2 of them I really want to point out. And that is under finance, additional part. This is in the top part. The top part, 3rd line down is finance. Increase of $77,830. That's my office. And that is for new accounting software and payroll software. We have no choice. The system we've been using is about to be mothballed. We have to go to a new system. So we have money in this budget, and there'll be a switch over this coming year to a new system. So that's a big number that had to go into the budget, and we really had no choice over the matter. And then the other big one is at the very bottom, the last line, and that's debt service. And you see it's an increase a little over $200,000. This is the start of putting in monies to pay for our capital project, which will begin this summer. And the full implementation will be over 3 years. So this is bringing up basically 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. So, this is the start of, and this will kind of ease in that debt service that it will be upon us. As opposed to doing it 1 year, we actually met with our financial consultants on it today and reviewed the plan. So we're looking in pretty good shape as far as that's concerned, as far as our finance is concerned. Does the Board of Ed have any questions about any of these numbers on this page?
They're just presenting.
Okay. On the next page, we have our estimated revenue. This is where our monies come from. Our current fund balance, we're using $950,000. We've been bringing that down $100,000 a year to help lessen the use of our fund balance and hopefully start to rebuild our fund balance. And we will start rebuilding it this year. State aid is only about 11% of our budget. And as you see the next time, property tax is 85% of our budget. So big ranges there. And other includes things like interest, refund of prior year expenses, when we rent our facilities. It's not a lot of money, it's a little bit of money. And we're hoping next year we'll see interest rates to start to rebound, so we'll be able to add some money on the revenue side for interest. We haven't been able to do that in a long time, but interest rates are starting to go back up now. And happy to say that it's easier, it's a lot better to do investing now than it was for the past 6-7 years, because there was no investing, basically, the rates were so low. So
The tuition go in there too?
yeah, tuition, We do have a couple kids who will be, I know of at least 2 kids who will be joining us next year so far. But both are looking to go into contract and buy a home in Rhinebeck, but it hasn't happened yet. They're hoping it happens, but because they're not in contract, they'll need to pay tuition until such time. Okay, those are our revenue sources.
Okay, thanks, Tom. On the last page are the listing of voter qualifications, whether in this district or any other district in New York State. You must be a legal resident, must be qualified to vote according to the applicable laws, must be a citizen of the United States of America, and must be 18 years of age or older. Residency is defined there in that paragraph below those 4 bullets, and proof of residency is outlined at the very bottom of that page. Again, this is a process that has started back in December, and it's gone along through April 17th, I think, when the board adopted a budget to go before the voters on May 15th. We've had one hearing that evening, which is a hearing that our Board of Education does. Tonight is the required budget hearing, which we've always thought was a little odd because any input at this point can't impact the budget. The budget's already been adopted, but the state in all of its wisdom requires a hearing a week or 2 before the budget, so you guys can figure it out. That's why we typically do 2. One that can actually, with input that could actually impact the budget development, and tonight's, which again really can't according to the law. So this is what will go before the voters next Tuesday, and I'll turn it back over to Deirdre Dalbert.
Okay, so this is just a hearing. I don't believe we have any conversation or discussion. Is that correct? Or shall we?
The purpose is to hear what people have to say about the budget.
Right, so we rather than having us discuss, we can open up the floor for any kind of question or comment that's directed to the budget, and we'll move into our regular meeting at 7:30. We'll have another opportunity for public comment at that time. So may I invite anyone who has any comment or question with regard to the budget hearing? Yeah, please.
Hi, Terry Kupiak, Rhinebeck resident. I haven't received my purple and white copy.
Should have it tomorrow.
Tomorrow, okay, because I'm used to getting it, and I just asked someone else who lives in the district, and they didn't get it either, so I just wanted to...
Should be tomorrow.
It's at the post office, and you should be getting a copy in your school mailbox as well.
Unless you're Diane, in which case you'll never,
You may never see it.
you'll never get it. Apparently doesn't ever
You
get
would
it.
not get one in the mail if you were not a resident of this district. Oh, I know you are, Terry. But I would be willing to bet there are some people. I would be willing to bet that there are people in this room, excuse me, the people in this room who work in this district who are not residents in this district. They wouldn't be getting one mailed to them, but everyone will be getting one in their mailboxes tomorrow.
Hopefully. Any other question or comment relating to the budget for the budget hearing? Okay, so in the absence of any question or comment with regard to the budget, perhaps we can close the budget hearing, and shall we adjourn until 7:30, or we've got 15 minutes? So we shall adjourn for a short time. Please enjoy the snacks behind you, and we will begin our regular meeting at 7:30. Loud. Good evening, everyone, and I'm happy to welcome you to the regular meeting of the Rhinebeck Central School District Board of Education. It's Tuesday, May 8th, and I'm calling this meeting to order. May I have a motion to approve the minutes of the April 24th, 2018 special meeting?
So moved.
Second. Any amendments, corrections? All those in favor? That is 6 in favor. That motion passes. We have an opportunity for public comment. We have a full house here tonight, so please approach the microphone, tell us your full name, and we are pleased to hear from you.
Everybody, I'm going to put the mic up this time tonight too. I'm Victor Brittany. I'm a resident of Rhinebeck. I'm a teacher here at Rhinebeck. I'm vice president of the RTA, and I just want to recognize all my wonderful colleagues for being here tonight. A couple of things, and really, I'm really hopeful for May 17th that we can get to an acceptable place for both parties, a couple of things that I just wanted to mention that were related to some of the things that you guys are discussing. I was hopeful that there's new legislation in the New York State Legislature over APPR, and I know that if I actually got a call from Senator Serino's office today, and she is signed on to support that, which I wasn't sure she would. But I'm really excited to have an APPR that's more helpful for helping teachers grow. I think we tried to do what we could with the current one, so that's good news. I noticed the Long-Range Planning Committee had discussed the issue of class size and waivers, and I just want to discourage any major changes for the upcoming school year, just due to this disruption for the plans teacher have made. So it was hard to kind of read between the lines in the minutes about whether this was long range or this was short range. So I think it would be very detrimental to make changes at this stage of the game that change things that were in the program of studies and have students be changing things over the summer. In the future, try to please balance changes so that the preference for classes equally favors all students. We have a very well represented and vocal group of students whose parents are very involved that support honors and AP, and then we have a lot of legislated programs that are for students with disabilities. The students in the middle don't often have a vocal voice, and we have a lot of great programs and electives that are in art and music, in language arts, fashion classes, computer science, law classes, things like this that, even if they seem under-enrolled compared to some of the larger classes, they really serve a segment of our population that doesn't often get represented at board meetings at CDEP. I was also encouraged to see that you were looking into an analytic tool called Forecast 5, and I'm hopeful that that will allow the negotiations to explore some creative options, rather than just standard fare. There's things like retirement incentives, and there's other things too that this sort of tool might help provide some creative solutions in the process of negotiation. So I was hopeful to see that. In short, the leaders of the RTA and my colleagues are we got into this business to be with kids, to teach, and to be educators. We're not negotiators, we're teachers, and we do want to push, as I've said to Mr. Phelan, we want to push in the same direction that you guys want to push. We're here for kids. Ultimately, having a strong contract with the teachers helps attract and retain great staff. And so anything we can do to resolve that issue, as well as in these difficult budgetary times, also try to do the planning so that we're not going through some of the stresses and strains of the budget process that we went through this year, are going to help attract and retain great staff for our children. Looking forward to May 17th. Thank you all for your hard work. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
My name is Nancy Abel. I have been teaching here for 32 years in the 7th grade. I wrote down what I wanted to say, but I'd rather just have a conversation, so I'm only going to refer to this if I draw a blank. Back in 1986, I was profoundly blessed to be hired here at the Rhinebeck School District. This is a wonderful place to be. It is a wonderful school. It's a wonderful community. There are a number of reasons why I feel so blessed. The atmosphere that has existed here over 32 years has always been mutually respectful. It's been staff, students, administration, board. I've always felt supported and honored, and I've always felt the same way about my administration and the Board of Education. So that's one of the reasons why I've been so happy to be here. Another profound, wonderful reason why I was so lucky was the staff at Buckley Middle School, particularly Dr. Zeisler. I don't know if anybody remembers her anymore, except maybe Mrs. Bloomer. But she had a real vision about and a real understanding of middle school students and what that means and how important that time period is in a child's life, that was the keystone of the arch. They're hugely different from elementary school students, but they're completely distinct from high school students as well. And with her vision and her leadership, we really established a groundbreaking middle school. We received accolades and recognition from the New York State Middle School Association. We broke out of the confines of the schedule that is so crippling and so difficult to work within. We had block scheduling, we had advisorship programs, we pioneered interdisciplinary projects, writing workshops, authentic assessment, all kinds of things. And I really felt at that time that I was part of something wonderful and big and great. You have a horribly difficult job. I do not relish the difficulty of what you have to do to try to steer this district through such a difficult time with budget deficits, not enough money to go around, shrinking enrollment, changing regulations, contract negotiations that aren't always going well. So I respect the difficulty of what you do, and I hope you can always keep in mind that Rhinebeck is a wonderful place and we need to be here for the kids, and in order to do that, we have to really work to show our respect for each other and our admiration for each other. The anxiety of this kind of time leaches away trust and enthusiasm, and it bleeds into the classroom, and that's not what we want. And so I'm hoping you can always remember that as you work your way through this. And also remember the middle school, they're not just short high school students. They are their own beings, and they need to be respected and honored for that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Abel. Thank you. Any other public comment?
You don't have to raise your hand. Wow, I'm on the other side. I'd like to thank you as well for all that you do. I actually am very proud because this Saturday my daughter will be graduating with a civil engineering degree, which Mr. Brittany probably thought could never happen. Her dad is thrilled to death and is surprised as well, but he's thrilled. But I just want to say that no matter where you look, whether it's in a magazine, if it's on the internet, Rhinebeck Schools has a great reputation. And I feel blessed to live in this district and work in this district as well. My daughter also recently received a very prestigious award for the amount of her grades and her work for raising money for children, which Nicaragua, I really believed, was an influence to her. And so there's so many things that this community gives to the children, and I would just like to thank my colleagues for getting my 2 kids through this school, so I appreciate it. Wonderful teachers.
Any other, we're going to have another time for public comment if anyone feels moved later, but just want to be sure if there's anyone who wants to speak now, they have their opportunity. We'll move into our reports and discussion, which is a sort of regular part of our meeting. But before we do that, I'd like to share with everyone here a few thoughts, which we pulled together as a group, and we want to share with folks who made the time to come out and join us at our meeting, people who might be watching at home. And I want to begin by acknowledging today, May 8th, is National Teacher Appreciation Day. And we want to express our appreciation for exactly the kinds of things you've just shared with us in your statements to us. So I'm going to read this because I want to be sure I say everything that I have told my colleagues I will say. On behalf of the Board of Education, please allow me to thank our teachers for their committed presence at so many meetings during the long deliberations attendant upon this 2018-19 budget process, as well as for their advocacy on behalf of students and programs in the district. That has absolutely been the leading edge of so many comments and contributions. We wish publicly to affirm our appreciation for your dedicated efforts to meet the challenges of educating each and every young person in the Rhinebeck schools with professionalism, with optimism, and with compassion. All of these things. We want to thank members of the RTA for engaging in good faith with the board in working through what has become a protracted process of contract negotiations this year. As many, but perhaps not all of you know, this process does follow a clear progression as dictated by law and by guidelines established by the New York State Public Employment Relations Board, PERB, for ongoing negotiation when contracts are not resolved quickly. And as in past negotiations, the Board of Ed Personnel Committee, the superintendent, the assistant superintendent, and RTA leadership have met over quite a long period of time now, beginning informally with 6 meetings between March and May of last year, and then formal negotiations began in the summer of 2017 over the course of 3 meetings. And then, as mandated by PERB, when formal negotiations do not result in agreement, the process of mediation begins. And that began in this case for us, in September 2017, extending into the late winter and early spring of 2018, where we are now. So we're currently in a stage of collective bargaining, which is called fact-finding, and that will commence this month, as we've already acknowledged. And we are hopeful partners in working with you toward an equitable and a mutually agreeable resolution of this cycle of contract negotiation with the RTA, while remaining mindful of fiscally sound, long-range planning, the kinds of things we've been talking about in these meetings for the last several months on behalf of the district. And we very much want to express our hopefulness and our optimism in working together with RTA through this next stage of the process. Thank you. Now, reports and discussions. Board committee reports. Comprehensive District Education Plan.
So in the absence of formal minutes, I'm just going to sort of riff off the scratchy notes that I made at our last meeting, which was the 24th of April. It's our last meeting for the year, and we started off by talking about the climate survey that was conducted. Each of the 3 buildings have had a chance by now to review the findings of the climate survey. And I believe yesterday there was going to be a school-wide vertical team meeting about the climate survey. Dr. Davenport reported that he was reviewing the growth mindset work of the 9th grade ELA kids and was going to solicit input and feedback from the students about the surveys that they had taken and next steps. So he's very encouraged about that. At Chancellor, there was a lot of discussion around social and emotional security. The minutes of all the meetings and the vertical team meeting hopefully will be generated for feedback to CDEP before the end of the school year. And the group wholeheartedly agreed to redo the climate survey in the fall so that we could gauge some benchmarks and see if there's been growth. We're also really mindful that there was pretty low participation on the part of parents. So we're going to try to get the word out and promote and market the idea of parent participation being strong. Marvin provided a state ed update about ESSA and using BOCES to develop modules to help us comply with the new ESSA guidelines. SED is also conducting monitoring visits of each school district in the state, and I think ours was about a week and a half ago. We talked about superintendent conference days for 2018-19, and generally speaking, each and every full-day superintendent conference day is going to have something to do with social and emotional support for kids and teachers. And the September 4th will be a lot of the nuts and bolts kinds of programs that they have to run, the right to know and bloodborne pathogens, DASA training, principal meetings with staffs. The high school is going to talk about Title IX. Chancellor will work on bullying and harassment, and the district in general would like to start developing sort of a common language for kids around respectful behavior and language and actions. In October, the superintendent conference day will be about social and emotional wellness, whole child work, and there's going to be a parent component to try to develop this sort of common language even at home. In February, we'll continue to do our technology day, trying to support kids in social media and anxiety. And we've asked that all of our CDEP meetings follow those superintendent conference days so that we can continue the feedback loop and map it back to the CDEP plan to see how we're doing. There will also be slow development time. Those will probably happen during the 2-hour blocks that we have set aside for teacher development.
Any questions? You see that? Thank you, Lauren. Okay, next we have long-range planning.
That's me. This is from April 30th. First, we looked at some data from Forecast 5. We were looking at class sizes and teacher-student ratios, and we were comparing them with other schools in Dutchess County. We looked at different charts and graphs and different classes, a lot of data Tom brought to us, and pretty much everything was showing the same thing, that our class size and our teacher-student ratio are below average and among the lowest in the county. So that was good news. Then we talked about the timeline for the classes, and this is something that was changed this year. So kids are doing their class selection earlier. That's already almost completed or completed at this point, which is a change from years past. And this, basically, we used to get towards the beginning of the summer, they come to us to approve any classes that had enrollment of 12 or fewer students. And in the long-range process, we realized that it would be better to move that up so that we were able to make decisions earlier. It's required, teachers are required to be notified earlier in the year about class schedules for next year. So having this done earlier will allow those decisions to be made. So we talked about that. We talked about the board wanting to have as much information as possible when that comes to us. If there are any classes that fall into that category, that's going to happen this month. We looked at it as an opportunity. If there is a very low class, you could run that class. Maybe you could take a core class and make it 2 smaller classes. We wanted to know, what it would affect the student. Would it put those kids into a study hall? What it would mean for the staff member? But looking at this as an opportunity to really sit down when a decision can be made. So that will be happening this month. What else? And I think as a result of this, kids will really need to really think about their schedule when they're making the schedule. I mean, they've always been able to make changes as it goes forward, but really deciding helps the planning process go forward. So that's a little bit of a change for everyone. And then we talked, lastly, the board approved the Long-Range Planning Citizen Advisory Committee We've already started getting people that are interested in that, so that's exciting. If anyone is interested, they can email the committee at the lrp@rhinebeckcsd.org email. You can contact the central office, the district office, by May 25th. And we already have a list, I understand, but there's still time.
There
People-
are about 15 people have
Yeah,
already
so, and-
expressed interest in
So if
participating.
more people are interested, there's still time. So.
Any questions for long-range planning or comments? I just want to be really explicit about the long-range planning committee is open to all members of the community. So, please spread the word, and if you're interested, let us know. Okay. So, finance. Who's doing finance?
Those are mine. So we actually had two topics. One was that we reviewed the document from BOCES, which is the Dutchess County teacher contract analysis, which compares the contracts of all of the teacher associations throughout the county. And the second item was that we looked at Forecast 5. That was the first opportunity the Finance Committee had to really look at the tool. Tom provided some sample charts that he had already created with the tool, and we were given an opportunity to ask questions, and Tom produced some charts based on the questions that we produced. And so we're looking forward to more work with Forecast 5 in the future. Our next meeting has been rescheduled from June 7th to June 14th.
Okay. Any questions or comments for finance? Okay. Draft summer 2018 board meeting schedule.
Yeah, I provided to you in your packets a draft of next year's board meetings. Most pressing and something we should decide by our second meeting in May is a summer schedule. So there's no reason to spend time here discussing it, but please let me know if any of those 4 dates present a conflict for any of you. I've just taken our typical second and fourth Tuesdays and plugged them into the 2 summer months. There have been years when we have made a conscious decision to only meet 3 times during the summer months. We've also in more recent years talked about maybe meeting 3 times and having a board workshop for goal setting on another day. Doesn't have to necessarily be a Tuesday evening. So please give that some serious thought and let me know, preferably before our next meeting, as to whether there are any conflicts and what your thoughts are on number of meetings, workshop, etc. It's been typically very challenging to schedule 4 meetings during the summer, so I want to start working now and try to get that hammered out before it gets too much later in the year. Also, while you're at it, although we won't be adopting a schedule of meeting dates until our organization meeting in July, possibly, maybe likely July 10th. Also take the time to look at the other board meetings that run through the end of next June. Let me know if I'm missing any obvious or not so obvious conflicts with other things. Obviously, we want to schedule our meetings when the largest number of board members are able to be present and engaged. So please let me know most immediately on the dates for the summer and thereafter on the dates through next June.
Thank you, Joe.
Laura had a-
Oh, yeah. Laura.
Just a question about the organizational meeting.
Yeah.
What's the final date by which we can hold that? I'm going to have a conflict that day.
Yeah, the 14th,
14th?
yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Any other questions?
The
Comments?
other odd one is the budget vote on the same day as the board meeting.
Oh.
And the budget workshop is actually listed as a Friday, so you probably want to make that the 9th.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, we'll take care of that, thank you.
Okay, great. So, New York State School Board Association.
Yeah, I'll run with that if I may. New York State School Board Association has a program entitled School Board U for University Recognition Program, designed to recognize extensive time and effort for school board members who strive to continually expand their governance knowledge and skills. What we're talking about is professional development for Board of Education members. We know it's critically important for teachers and other members of our staff. I would maintain that it is equally important for Board of Education members to continue their professional development. And I was pleased to receive a packet of items from the New York State School Boards Association. There are 4 levels of achievement in this program: Board Achievement Award, Board Excellence Award, a Board Mastery Award, and a Board Lifetime Achievement Award. And it gives me great pleasure to announce that Deirdre Dalbert and Mark Fleischauer have been awarded the Board Mastery Award, which is the 3rd level of professional development achievement. So I will give you your lovely parting gifts now. A very handsome portfolio to do with as you wish. So enjoy, and thank you for taking the time to become better board members.
Halfway there to lifetime achievement.
There you go. Keep going.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And
welcome.
it certainly is a wonderful opportunity for us to keep learning.
Yeah.
So, okay, so good news. It's time for good news. I have a piece of good news, which is I was absolutely blown away by how fantastic the art exhibition was at the Star Library. It was fantastic to see all the artwork of students K through 12 and to see the development that takes place over our extraordinary arts programs in our schools. And going back to the point Mr. Britton made about how important work in the arts really is to so many students, it's extraordinary to see the work our students are doing with the support of our faculty. So I thought that was very good news.
And I'll just tag on to that also. I don't know how many people have seen the planting the seeds of, I can't remember.
Seeds of Change.
Seeds of Change, thank you. Art project that's it's hanging on the fence by the town pool. I spent a lot of time in the park representing us on the park committee, so I've seen it, and it is really impressive. I encourage you to go down and see it if you haven't had a chance to do that.
Yes,
Yeah,
Laura.
and to that point, I'm really grateful to the arts faculty for supporting our kids, and all the faculty here for supporting our kids to really have a voice and express themselves. And it's a wonderful thing, especially during these incredibly exciting times in the world. So I appreciate it very, very much.
Yeah. Any other good news? Okay. Old business. There is no old business. We have an opportunity for public comment once again. If anyone wishes to come forward and make a public comment, thank you.
So I'm going to give homage to my dad, because he used to call it the St. Clair Whisper. Because I just don't feel this mic seems loud enough to me. Anyway, so Susan St. Clair, I'm Rhinebeck resident and teacher and president of the RTA. And as you see all us standing here, you know, we understand the appreciation you have. You know, these are the people that starting from when you're in kindergarten and you come out of the bathroom because you didn't zipper your pants, and you need to have somebody help you put on your coat and gloves until the time they're seniors and they're graduating and you're standing in the hallway and you're helping kids arrange their cap and gown. I mean, these are the people that make it happen. And, you know, when you use the word before, Deirdre, protracted, it has felt like that to the teachers. And I would just say to you again, like Victor said, we're hopeful for the 17th. because, part of us feeling that appreciation is having a contract than being without a contract. So, we'll be hopeful that on the 17th, even if we have to bring our jammies, the negotiation team will bring our jammies if we need to, and you guys as well, and let's get things done on the 17th. That's what I'd like to say.
Thank you.
All right?
Any other public comment? Okay, we have other? Any other?
I would just ask the board members, if you have not done so yet, as you all should be aware, based on our discussion at our last meeting, I have drafted a letter to Commissioner Elia regarding the process for reviewing and approving capital projects. I would like to send that off to her with all deliberate speed, as well as copy our local legislators, our governor, and anybody else that you think I should be sending it to. That would be meaningful to send it to them. So please let me know. It's ready to go. Just a couple of you have given me feedback, but I'd like to make sure everybody who wants to weigh in does so over the next day or so I can send it on its way. That's, just wanted to try to close the loop on that.
Good night. Any, yes, other. Bye, everyone. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for coming.
Have a good
night.
night.
So I wanted to sort of gauge the temperature. I sent you all an email that I received from a parent in the district about the whole Airbnb situation in the village in specific from these people. There is a growing group of concerned.
You want to wait till they come?
Maybe we'll wait. They have lots to say.
Didn't even know there was a baby.
There's a little baby back there.
Yes.
It's nice to see a baby back there.
I know.
Somebody's
love
taking
it.
the baby with them.
I think the
We
baby's
should have
going.
babies more often.
I
That
know.
would be fun. Warm and fuzzy.
Babies, puppies, what else could we?
Your baby was really good.
Two babies, two
The
babies.
babies were so lovely. Thank you for bringing them.
Oh, one baby, sorry. One baby. Take it back.
One chair.
One baby. Bye.
Baby, one chair.
We were told you guys have ice cream. We're gonna hang.
Awesome.
You're waiting for the
Welcome
extra
to
special
stay.
waiter snacks. We know.
Cookies.
Okay. So carry on, Laura.
Yeah, so anyway, the concern is that the village has been hearing from people who are very positively inclined toward Airbnb. And I think that there hasn't been a lot of promotion about coming out and voicing your opinion. So the first meeting, apparently, according to these parents, was really about pro Airbnb, and it gave the village the impression that the residents didn't necessarily have any great concerns about it. Since that time, residents have put together this sort of support group, and they're trying to get the word out to make their voices heard. Because what one of these parents, who's a realtor in Rhinebeck, has said is that there is really no inventory for people who are trying to buy homes in Rhinebeck. What's happening is that people aren't selling their homes when they retire because they can use it as a revenue stream and turn it into an Airbnb. And that there are other people who aren't from here that are just buying up properties and making them Airbnbs so that they've got an income. Obviously, we all know what that means. It means we're gutting the schools because those houses are going to be filled with transient people who aren't educating their kids here. So there is a meeting of the village board. It's a workshop, I guess, on May 23rd. It's a Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. And before that, this group is holding an information session at the Star Library on Monday, May 14th. just about the issues, what they're looking at in terms of changing the code. And these parents suggested, and I agree with them, that we actually present the school's opinion and what this kind of change might mean for the district. We're having a hard enough time keeping a robust enrollment, but if Rhinebeck turns into a transient town, then we're not going to have enrollment.
I will say, I went to that pro Airbnb meeting.
Oh, did you?
I did. I didn't know it was.
Are you doing Airbnb, Liz?
No, I was in the wrong crowd. I thought it was the other way around.
You're like, oh.
But I will say that the current, that there was very, I brought up that, you know, just in my neighborhood, 2 blocks, 5 houses are dark, and they're Airbnb. And those 5 houses of kids that could walk to school. And they just about bit my head off, as well as the village mayor. So it's, you know, a struggle of finding a balance. You know, like everything, we have to eat balanced diets, we have to balance our portfolios, and, you know, I feel that there definitely needs to be balance, but it's I think it's a huge issue that's going to impact our school greatly. So I'll go.
Wait, it's May 23rd?
The
14th
village
is the
workshop is the
families.
23rd, and the info session is the 14th.
And
at
the
Starlight.
info session's at the library.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think it'd be great if we could maybe even prepare a statement, right?
Yeah.
Can we
At
do
least
that?
Well, why not?
I don't know.
Send the letter to be read, because the village board meetings are typically on Tuesday nights, so,
Yeah.
but at the workshop, I don't know whether they're
Oh, if they allow public comment?
accepting public comment, but we'll certainly send it for a meeting.
Well, as I mentioned, I'm sorry.
Or
okay.
Diane?
No, go ahead.
Well, a couple things. So is there something that the village board is going to vote on that could change this one way or the other? I mean, I guess I'm
I
not
think
too
they're
familiar with
working
it.
on legislation right now.
That could limit how many there are or something? I mean,
It's not-
Or make it
they're not
more
limiting,
friendly to
they're
be-
Make
just
it,
making it
yeah,
more friendly.
more
so-
friendly.
but there's something they could do one way or the other. So if people are looking to share their opinions, there's some
Yeah.
action that might
Yeah.
be taken. Yeah, I mean, I think it would be good for the school, that perspective. I mean,
be a
people,
voice.
you know, obviously these are people's homes, they're making their decisions, but thinking about the school and the community and the impact on it, a letter would be good. I mean, I think it would be good. It's better sometimes in person if someone could represent us. If it's the night of our meeting, that's obviously a problem, but I think,
Isn't it
I
a
always think
Wednesday? Isn't it a Wednesday?
The May 23rd
well,
workshop.
right, but I think, you know,
Oh.
a letter, they might pass it around and read it, or they might not. I just think in person, then everyone else is hearing that side of it as well.
Maybe I could ask if, I know communications, you have a lot going on, but if maybe you wanted to just prepare something very, like some kind of outline or something, I'm happy to, if there's a possibility, I'll find out if I can say something on the 23rd, I'm happy to go to it.
Okay.
So,
We have a meeting tomorrow. Very full
Ray, you want to come with
agenda.
me, Mark? Mark and I will go together, we'll just make a statement.
It's probably one of those things everyone maybe not think about those bigger.
Yeah, it's the
consequences, you know,
unintended
the-
consequence, right?
Yeah.
You have a meeting? All right, he has a meeting, apparently it's just me. Okay, well, if you guys prepare something for me, I'm happy to go.
Great.
Okay.
May be able to go.
Let's go together.
I'll go.
All right, let's go together. Okay, sounds good.
4 of you go, you got a quorum.
We'll have a
that-
meeting right
is that-
there.
All right, then.
No, there'll be 3. There'll be 3 of us. It's fine.
So
3's
the
good.
14th is the meeting? No,
14th is the info session.
I can't
At
go
the
to the info
library.
session.
And the
So
23rd is
maybe
the
if someone can go to the info
I'll go,
session.
I can go to the library one.
And, like,
I was planning
fill
on
us
doing
in.
this. I've got my name on
Okay.
the list.
Yeah, I can't go
It's
that
a
one.
thing up my nose. It bothers me.
All right.
I just wanted to mention that several months ago, I was contacted by Howie Trout, who was one of the village trustees, regarding this topic, and so I told him how I felt about its impact, and he asked me for some information on enrollment and declining enrollment, so I gave him that information. It's in no way to say that we shouldn't do something again. This was
Yeah.
months ago, and apparently what I had to say to him and share with him was not the deal breaker. So the topic's still alive and well, and if there's an interest on the part of any of you, then we should. I just want to let you know that there has already
did
been a
outreach.
contact there. He called me, so I want
That's
to
good.
give credit to his reaching out to me, but apparently the issue's still on a full boil, so.
I don't know if this discussion's happening on a town level. I imagine that it is likely, right? There's an Airbnb in my neighborhood. I'm in the town, not in the village, so I suppose we could certainly ask Elizabeth Spence.
Yeah, yeah, if there's an opportunity to say something there. Yeah. Okay. Any other? Okay, if not, we'll move on to our action items. Is there anyone who would like to remove anything from the consent agenda? May I have a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? 6 in favor, that motion passes. May I have a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to approve the list of poll inspectors and chairperson, Lori Bathrick Keel, Betty Lou Bouts, Heather Casano, Kathy Kazans, Shauna Colley, Jen Hammoud, Rosemary Hanson, Dawn Harrington, Jane Hoffman, Linda Janow, Barbara Joyce, Maya Kaimal, Valerie Kilmer, Donna Mahoney, Serena O'Connor, Susanna Renzi, Meg Tedisco, Dan Wild, Tammy Zepnik-Holtzwinter, Betsy Zubroff, with additions, and to give the district clerk permission to fill additional positions as necessary.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? 6 in favor, that motion passes. May I have a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to approve the Rhinebeck crew team overnight trip to the New York State Scholastic Rowing Association Championship in Saratoga, New York on May 11th to 13th, 2018, at no additional unbudgeted cost to the school district.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Do I need
Oh,
to
you're
abstain?
recusing yourself?
I'm gonna
Okay, so that's
abstain.
5 in favor and 1 abstention. May I have a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to approve as a final reading the adoption of modifications to the following board policies. Number 4526, use of computers by staff and students. Number 6670, petty cash accounts. Number 6740, purchasing procedures. Number 6800, payroll procedures. Number 6830, expense reimbursement staff. And number 6900, disposal of district property.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? That's 6 in favor, that motion passes. May I have a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to approve a leave request under the Family and Medical Leave Act from Fawn Johnson to commence on May 16th, 2018, with such leave to be taken as paid medical leave through the period of disability as certified by a physician in writing, to the extent of her accrued sick leave, and thereafter, such leave to be taken as unpaid medical leave through June 22nd, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? 6 in favor, that motion passes. May I have a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to approve the list of additional emergency conditional substitute teachers and substitute non-instructional staff for the 2017-18 school year?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? That is 6 in favor. That motion passes. May I have a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to approve the appointment of Jean Florio to score the 2018 Grade 4 New York State Science Assessments?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? That's unanimous. 6 in favor, that motion passes. May I have a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to approve the permanent civil service appointment of Tracy Velli as teacher aide effective May 21st, 2018?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? 6 in favor, that motion passes. May I have a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to approve the appointment of Kim Appenauer to the position of teacher aide from 7:35 a.m. to 2:35 p.m., effective April 18th, 2018 through June 15, 2018, at her current rate of pay.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion?
Can I move to table this?
Yes, there's been a motion to table. May I have a second? All those in favor of tabling? Okay. 6 in favor of tabling, that motion's been tabled. May I have a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to approve the modification to the leave request under the Family and Medical Leave Act from Kristen Secor, having commenced on February 23rd, 2018, with such leave to be taken as paid medical leave through the period of disability, as certified by a physician in writing, through June 8th, 2018, to the extent of her accrued sick leave and thereafter, such leave to be taken as unpaid childcare leave through June 20th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor? That's 6 in favor, that motion passes. May I have a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to accept a donation from Karen S. Fisher to the CLS Vocal and General Music Program in memory of George Holden, class of 1943, in the total amount of $50 as stipulated.
So moved.
Second.
Just on behalf of the Board of Education and our schools, I want to thank Karen Fisher for her generous gift. All those in favor? Okay. 6 in favor, that motion passes. May I have a motion upon the recommendation of the superintendent of schools to approve Beth Hetty as an overnight chaperone for the Rhinebeck crew team overnight trip to the New York State Scholastic Rowing Association Championship in Saratoga, New York on May 11th through 13th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? 6 in favor? That motion passes. May I have a motion to move into executive session for the purpose of discussing negotiation with one of our bargaining units?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Okay, we are moving into executive session. Thank you very much.
Thanks for sticking it out.